Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Onsite Renovation Group for October 16, 2018. We're here today at 453 Kendrick Avenue Southeast in Atlanta. I'm Dustin Griffin, your host, here with Don DeRosa and Sue Cho from New Western Acquisitions and the owners of the property, which I'm going to introduce you to here shortly. This event is sponsored by Baker Collins. They'll fund your project in days, not weeks. We'll introduce you to them in just a minute. I also want to give special thanks to New Western Acquisitions for not only being one of our Atlanta REIA Diamond sponsors, but also being a sponsor of today's event. This is one of their properties they sold to the folks we're going to meet here in just a minute. It's being rehabbed down here in Grant Park. So let's get started. I do want to pan around the neighborhood and let you take a quick look real quick, just so you can kind of see the street. Some real nice big oak trees. A lot of the houses that I'm seeing have not necessarily been rehabbed yet. So this may be one of the first few on the street, but it is a nice street. Looks nice and quiet. So we've got a bunch of people congregated, ready to go. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Onsite Renovation Group. I apologize for being off to a little bit of a late start, but there was a big, bad wreck up on Jimmy Carter and I-85 that had 4 lanes blocked forever. Yeah, so I'm glad you guys all made it. Thank you so much for coming out. Looking forward to seeing this property. We've been wanting to do a on-site with Sue for quite some time, so I'm glad we could finally make it out and get one done, and hopefully we'll come back when it's finished and see the finished product if you're up for it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Joseph Castaneda's here. I want to give him a quick minute to say hello. He's one of our sponsors who does hard money lending. He can fund your deal pretty quick. So Joe, you'll say a quick word?
Sure. Guys, thank you very much for coming out to this amazing project. My name is Joe Castaneda. I'm an account executive with Baker Collins. We didn't fund this project, but we're a sponsor for the Atlanta REIA for it, and we do a lot of these actual projects here in the Atlanta area. We focus on 4 things: fix and flips, rental, buy and holds, new construction will help you purchase the lot and build up, and also commercial. Okay, when you decide to go with us, you'll be assigned an account executive to help you and walk you through your project. We'll analyze these deals for you. We'll pull comps as well. So before putting a property in the contract, send us over 3 things: your address, the purchase price and rehab, and we'll analyze this deal for you. We got to make sure it makes sense, because not every deal is a good deal, right? So guys, my phone number is 404-599-5990. I will also be passing out my business cards as well. And you can also, I always tell this to everybody, do your own due diligence. So you could check us out at bakercollins.com. And Dustin, thank you very much for having us here.
Appreciate you being our sponsor. So if you guys are interested in fixing and flipping houses, that's what this group is all about. Whether you're brand new to the business, whether you've been doing it for years, you get to come out and see what other investors are doing, whether they doing their first rehab, their 100th rehab, or somewhere in between. And we like to have some sponsors here who can help us find properties, such as New Western or Baker Collins, who can help get your deals funded. So I appreciate you guys all coming out today. This is Sue Cho with New Western. You guys can go ahead and unmute your mics. It should turn green. You ready?
I'm good.
You're good? I can hear you?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
You're good. You guys are all live. All right, well, again, this is Sue Cho from New Western Acquisitions. This is a deal they found. Sue, why don't you introduce yourself and your company, tell everybody what you do real quick.
So my name is Sue. Been with New Western Acquisitions basically since day one, approximately 11 years ago in Texas. Came here about 6 years ago. I'm the regional manager. We have 3 different offices across the Atlanta metro area currently. We specialize in providing deals like this to investors. We network with other wholesalers also, where we could not only sell them properties but also just try to provide a one-stop shop, help in giving out contractor referrals, any kind of lender referrals, any kind of property management referrals, anything that the investor actually needs so they could be as successful as possible. So I look forward to meeting each and every one of you guys face to face. If you guys want to jot down my cell phone number, it's 214-403-3207. 214-403-3207. I also have a bunch of business cards that I'll hand out also.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a new investor panel last night for successful new investors who've been doing it less than 2 years.
Okay.
And several of the people in the panel kept giving you guys shout outs last night.
Yeah.
They'd either bought deals from you
Yeah.
or had sold you deals recently.
So one of the things that we actually pride ourselves on is having relationships with some of those newer investors and some of the seasoned investors like yourselves also, so that the whole entire business model could continue to prosper and we could sell a bunch of quality deals to investors who come back in our office and buy additional properties.
Yep, absolutely. Now, do you have some of your team here today you'd like to give a shout out
I got
to?
a bunch of my guys here. I got Lante over there. I got Alfonso, Gabe, Tony. I got Tom, Cameron attends.
We all know Cameron, yeah. But I see some other familiar faces.
Tom Wilker, Jeremy. We got Mac and Josh.
Yep.
Some of the newer guys over there.
Yeah, how big is your team now?
40 agents now.
Wow.
Across 3 different locations. We have a branch in Marietta. Brad Campbell kind of runs that office for us. I run the Buckhead location, and then Gordon Tran runs the Riverdale location.
Okay. So tell us about this property we're standing in front of. And a lot of the questions we like to ask is, how did you find it? What are you guys doing to be so successful to find so many deals?
So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I think other wholesalers do what we do, but we do it on a large scale basis.
Yeah, you do.
I got a bunch of guys that are constantly hitting the streets. They're building relationship with other wholesalers. They're having relationships with listing agents, REO agents. Not that there's a whole lot of them currently, but we also do our own marketing where we go after sellers. And again, the idea is for us to make a little bit of margin on it, the investors to make a little bit of margin. We can kind of continue this over and over again. But this house, I believe it was an off-market deal. We got it under contract direct with the seller. We sold it to these guys, and I remember, was it probably 2-3 months ago now?
At least.
Sandra came over to the house, made sure the renovation was good, pulled the comps, made sure the comps actually comped out. So I'm excited to kind of see the final project and you guys make a nice little return on it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you find it? Because a lot of people want to know how, a lot of new investors,
Yeah.
wholesalers. How are you finding
So
deals like
we
this?
have, back at corporate, we have a whole entire marketing division where we send out massive amounts of letters. We do a lot of online advertisements where we go after direct sellers who want to sell the property for whatever reason. We believe that we provide an out for a seller that wants to get rid of the property. This particular seller had it rented out for a long time, I think 3-4 years or so. They just didn't want to deal with it anymore. I believe they were relocating to another city, and they just wanted to sell it.
Yeah. Now, what can you tell us about the neighborhood?
It's great.
Is this considered Grant Park where we are right now?
Correct.
I thought so.
I mean, it's anything in the southwest, southeast area of Atlanta, in my opinion, is just really blowing up. I personally own a lot of inventory in the southwest Atlanta also. My plan is to, obviously hold on to them for buy, fix, and hold strategies. But a lot of investors are flipping these properties, making great returns on them.
Yeah. Now, I just kind of panned the camera around,
Yep.
and we're checking out some of the neighbors. The neighbors look nice and clean,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily look fully rehabbed, or at least not newly rehabbed. Are you going to be one of the first few full rehabs on the street, or?
I think there's a comp on that street that's currently being renovated. I think it's a new construction also. I love neighborhoods.
What are your comps? What did you identify as the selling? What you think?
And that's where I was going with that question.
Pardon?
In the 500s.
Low, medium, high.
Low 500s right now.
Yep.
Okay.
But what I was saying is I actually like going into neighborhoods where not every single house on the street is renovated.
Exactly.
Because maybe as a real estate investor, it's a little bit too late to go in and catch the upswing of things. So a neighborhood like this where there's a couple of renovations going on, I really...
And that was my point, because just looking at the nearest neighbors, I mean, they're nice,
Yep.
but they don't look like they've been recently rehabbed or fully rehabbed. So that's the kind of opportunity you're looking for, to be one of the first few on the street for sure. And it looks like a nice area. It's not like it's a war zone or anything like that. It looks nice.
So you want, I know they're kind of rushed for time, I think, right? Am I understand that? Okay, I thought, but I was gonna say, let's get started with the numbers. Do you want to come in? What's his name, Dave? Dave?
Yeah,
why don't you
and
come on
can
in?
you introduce these two as well to our audience?
So Dave is the main contact for us, along with Jeff. Basically analyzes the deals and makes sure that the deals are good deals and they make the purchasing decisions.
Now, which Dave?
Right?
Dave Emmerich? Yeah.
PM. And this is Sandra. She is our project manager for this project. We paid $245 for this house.
Yep.
And we're going to put in $135. It was $130 when I walked over here, but it's $135 now.
Come a little closer if you can here. Come on in closer.
And the ARV on this house was pretty solid at $500,000. Could go up to $507. So the margins are going to be somewhere around 120 to 125, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been doing the business?
10 years.
10 years. So you've done a lot of these?
Well, we have done a lot of them.
300 in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
You guys hear that? 300. So we're dealing with some sophisticated rehabbers today. Sometimes the folks we deal with are brand spanking new. Sometimes they've been in it for a few years. Sounds like you guys have been doing it for a while.
We've been doing it for 13 years. We started out as turnkey, so we were doing 10 or 12 of those a month, and then as foreclosures dried up, we had a shift into retail rehabs, and so that's what we do today. We try to do 70 to 72, 73 a year.
Nice, very nice. So are they regular customers of yours?
They are.
Yeah.
One of my top guys in my office, in the Buckhead office, Chance Bridges, works with them very, very closely. Not only do we sell them properties, but occasionally they'll toss us a deal or two if it makes sense for us to sell it out to another investor.
Right. So to do your kind of volume, are you doing your own marketing, generate leads, or you?
Yeah, we have a team of 3 people inside that are doing marketing, direct mail campaigns, just like everybody else, and they're very, very full time. It takes a lot of people to generate 6 or 7 functional, profitable houses a month.
So I have a question.
Plus
I
folks
know
like
a
this.
lot of these
Exactly.
folks
That
will
provide
ask-
good inventory.
They'll ask me this later. To get 6 deals a month, what kind of marketing budget do you need to have?
Well,
That's a question everybody asks.
okay, so to get 6 or 7 houses a month, some of them are going to come through wholesale sources. Some of them are going to come right from these folks here, and then some of them are going to self-generate. And so last month, or the month of October, we sent out 40,000 postcards. And so at 32 cents a piece, it's about $12,800. And that should generate, I'm guessing that'll generate about 5 to 7 houses. So you say, wow, $12,800. If it generated only one house and you made $75,000, $100,000 on it, it paid for itself, even if it only generated one house. But your sales reps, they work on a base and commission, so they're wanting as many houses as they can get, and so we work those phones aggressively. We've had, in the last 7 days, we had 77 calls, and I don't know what we have today, but so those cards have hit, they've sat on people's tables, and they're starting to generate inbound phone calls. And out of those calls, you aggressively try to pursue those folks and try to get houses under contract, or we wholesale a tremendous number of houses a month.
Yep. So of all those postcards you're sending out, who are you targeting?
Well, we buy a variety of databases. This last month, we targeted 9 different databases. So 9 different types of demographics, whether it's people with a lot of equity in a house that haven't moved in 20 years, or people that have low credit, or people that have tax, they're behind on their taxes, or people in pre-foreclosure. There's a variety of systems in which to do it. You just know that everybody's kind of chasing the same people, and so it's really about getting that call and converting that call into something that has potential.
How many leads do you get to get that?
Well, I think out of that 40,000, I think we'll get about 350 phone calls. And out of that 350, again.
So wait a minute. Did y'all hear that? Because some of you are looking down at your phones and somebody. So say that number again.
So
'cause
out
I
of
want you to
the-
pay attention to that.
Out of the 40,000 postcards, I think that'll generate about 350 phone calls. Now, out of those phone calls, you know, most of them aren't going to amount to anything, but that's the way the numbers work. I don't even care about the no's.
40,000
That's less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
to get to
Less than
350-ish.
350-ish calls, and then out of those calls, you're going to get in front of we're going to maybe look at 40 houses
Yeah.
out of that 350, because most of them are just not going to be viable transactions.
At least
but
not initially.
Not right away.
Maybe not as a buy, exactly, and I'll say that. But we might get 20 wholesales out of this month's worth of leads that we can flip for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. And we also, because we have a brokerage, we also can list these houses for people and provide listing services and things of that nature. And so there's a lot of ways to capitalize on it. But the beauty of it is most people don't buy while you're in their house, walking around their house. They call you, or you call them back 30 days later, then you call them back another 30 days later, and then their pain has gotten high enough that they're willing to make a decision to
Yep.
sell that house to you. That's how it works. All about follow-up.
Exactly.
Because what I always say in every single seminar, 85% of all your deals are going to come from follow-up. They're not going to come from the initial one. We've been saying all along that less than 1% or 1% is what your return is going to be on any kind of direct marketing or direct campaign to sellers. So it's good to hear someone else kind of reiterate those numbers, because I see a lot of people, and a lot of people may be standing here, they may only send out 100 or 200 postcards and wonder why their phone's not ringing.
Right.
And do it only once.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at that, I really want to emphasize that because it puts everything in perspective.
Right. In fact, I will tell you that in Atlanta, there's probably 1 million postcards hit the street every month. Because I know one group alone that does over 500,000 postcards a month. It's a larger group. And so let's say there's 1 million postcards a month going out. It doesn't matter whether you're a large player like we are or a small player, the fundamentals never change. If you want to generate leads, you have to spend money to make money. And the ratios should be relatively close to the same if you're buying the same kinds of data, which all are readily available.
You said you're getting in front of 40 houses, but you said you're getting 7 properties. If there's also 20 or so you're wholesaling, so that's what kind of you're not
Well,
getting more than 7.
we don't necessarily get in front of houses that we wholesale. They send us a picture or pictures, and then we blast it out. We only ask for 5 or 6 days to sell the property for them. If we can't do it in 5 or 6 days, we move on. And so we don't even have to go look at most of those houses.
You're getting more than 7 houses. You're getting 20 plus 7.
Could be, yeah, could be.
It's pretty easy for these guys to just toss a deal over back to us because we have a bigger audience on the investor side of things. So if there's a margin, if the margins are too skinny for them to look at, I don't want it. Let's see if New Western could go in and find a buyer for it. What I was also going to say is, yellow letters, postcards, they're all great. Direct marketing, it's a fantastic way to buy properties. We do it also, but I still think that there's tons of great deals that are actually on market that are ready to be bought. I know about 25% of our deals that we do on a monthly basis, and we do approximately 45 deals a month every single month, is off of the MLS.
Absolutely.
Now, how aggressively you actually talk to that listing agent to try to negotiate the price down to a price that actually makes sense, that's between you and the talented agent that you're working with.
And we do buy houses the same way on MLS
Yep.
and FMLS every month.
Yep.
That comes into play.
How do you go about the copyright of all these pieces?
Copyright? What do you mean by that?
Do you send the same copy every time?
Oh no, we if you're going to do direct mail, you have to be cognizant of what's working and what's not. So we have a database that tracks results. So this month we sent out 9 different types of databases using primarily the same postcards that we know work, that are proven for us. And so as every one of those calls come in, it's tracked through our Sumo database. And so we know, I already know right now where those 78 calls came, or 77, whatever it was. I know exactly which postcards and which databases are producing the most results. Now next month, it might be a different database that produces the best results. But the fact is, we have that information, and somebody has to manage that if you're doing the volume we are. But if you're a single proprietor investor, you don't want to just start throwing money out and not be tracking where your leads are coming in from. So you have to have a little Excel spreadsheet or something that says, this is how many calls I got, this is the conversion rate that we were able to accomplish.
How would you do the first one? If you were starting again, how would you do the copy of the first one? Would you copy someone that is working?
Absolutely. I wouldn't reinvent the wheel. Even for a second. We're constantly tweaking. We have meetings all the time to talk about, well, let's change these words. So instead, we went to the best company in the business that does this. And I said, I want to make all these changes. He was like, no. You know, like a 2-year-old, no. And he was like, that's a huge mistake. What you want to do is a huge mistake. This is what works. I've got 1 million postcards a month going out with different clients. This is what works, and that's what we did. So we follow his lead, and he's usually right.
Yep. Now,
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
Now, assume
good
you're
stuff out
using some sort of follow-up system to follow up with those 350 calls month after
absolutely.
month after month once you've got them into your system.
Right. We have a CRM, customer relationship management system, that is totally automated, that tracks who we're supposed to talk to today. When our sales guys come in, it pops up on their screen. These are the 26 follow-up calls that you set in that computer to call on the 16th of October. And so, yes, you have to have a system. It's all about systems.
You got a machine.
Process. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, question then, by a show of hands, how many people were new? Let's see what your hands. How many people, let me rephrase that question. How many people have never done a renovation? Okay, how many people have done less than 5? Okay, more than 5. Okay. All right, so just kind of get an idea of the audience that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're brand new, what did you just take away from what he just said? Marketing's not easy. You got to spend money to make money. Okay? You can't send out 100 and expect to buy a deal. You have to send possibly thousands. If you can't spend that kind of money, then you're going to find a different source. That means driving for dollars, going to a wholesaler, something else, some other way that somebody is spending that kind of money or time. Okay? And then when you do get something, you have to have a system in place. If you're trying to do this business, generally it'll work on a spreadsheet temporarily, but sooner or later you're going to have to put a full-fledged system in place if you want this to be a business. That's right.
Absolutely.
We started out with one house 14 years ago, so we're doing the same thing today that we did 14 years ago.
Just on a different scale.
Just on a different scale. That's exactly
Yep.
right.
So let's get into the specifics about this particular property we're standing in front of today.
Okay, so here you gave me the numbers. The numbers are, you bought it for $245.
Mm-hmm.
Rehab is $135. ARV is $500. So it looks like there's going to be around $120 minus expenses. Minus
It'll be a gross profit, but all your repair expenses are in there.
yeah, but it'll be minus your commissions and stuff, closing fees.
That's
so
right.
$135,000. Tell me what you want to do on the outside. Let's talk about the outside.
Sandra will do that.
Well, the outside, first thing you guys got to do,
Sorry guys, I don't mean to have my
wherever you're buying in Atlanta, is check the historical district. Because that will greatly impact whether you purchase a house, the expenses that are going to go along with it being a historical house. This one is in Historical Grant Park. We are not allowed to touch the front of this house. We can paint it, we can repair it, but it has to look exactly like the structure size, not the colors, but the structure has to be the same.
So you can't change the facade of this house
No,
at all?
not even.
Not on the front. Can't do anything to the front of this house. And that's one thing. Yeah. Colors you can do. They want me to put a red roof on this house or a green roof. They want colors because it fits with this historical district. Every district is different. Some they won't let you do anything to the outside of the house. It has to be as it was in 1920. Some they know that the like this one, they can put hardy siding on the sides. We just can't do it on the front. Has to be wood on the front, same windows, same cedar shakes, everything. We can put an addition on the back, which we're doing. We're gonna add, this is 1,000 square feet, 1,011 square feet. We're adding 400 square feet to it on the back of the house, which we purchased it as a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's now gonna be a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath when we're done.
So when you purchased it as a 2-bedroom, what was the ARV at that point versus what you're moving the ARV to with a 3-bedroom?
Well, we don't do it that way. We typically, if it's under 3 bedrooms, we automatically focus on the larger comps. And we actually wanted to make this a 4 2.5, but the math doesn't work because of a driveway in our way. And so we typically, the ARV, what we do is go find out what the optimum ARV is in the neighborhood. The house that has the best look, the best rehab, what's that house going to bring, and can we bring it up to that level? And that's kind of how we evaluate homes, and they know that's how we evaluate homes at New Western. And so that we don't spend a lot of time chasing leads from them that aren't good leads. They know what we want. They're almost partnered with us in that sense as a provider of inventory.
Yeah. And we kind of analyze it in multiple different aspects also. So some of our investors, they do not want to do addition plays because of maybe how long it takes for the city to actually approve the permits and whatnot.
That's my next question.
Some of our investors actually do love it because they can get the value add on it on the back end of it. So we analyze each deal specifically, uniquely, and say, okay, this one, because of the condition of the inside of the house in its original state, it's a super clean house, maybe it doesn't need an addition. But unfortunately, this one was not in so good of a shape. So we thought, okay, this is a better play to do a 400 or 500 square foot addition to the back of it.
So you bought this when?
3 months ago. Yeah.
Started permitting right away?
Yes. Well, first we walked through it, decide what exactly we're going to do to the house.
Okay.
We knew it was going to come a 3-2. That's what we needed it to be to get to that ARV. So we'll walk the house. We'll really take a look at it, because when you're originally estimating to buy the house, there's 10 other people want to buy that same house from you. So you got to get in, get your estimate done, and get it back to my boss and say, hey, this is what the estimate's going to cost to make it what you told me you want to make it. Then as soon as we close on the house, we change locks. We also do lead-based inspections on our houses just to make sure that we're within compliance. He's given me a budget. I call in our architect and I walk him through the house and I say, this is what I want to do to the house. These are the walls I want to take out. This is where I want the addition. That might take another month for him to come back with an actual permit. It all depends on what you're doing in the city of Atlanta.
So now, are you removing walls to get those 3 bedrooms?
Yep,
And reconfigure the inside?
I'm
That's
adding.
what typically we do, but yeah.
Yeah, I've moved walls to make a living room that was half the size now, because this is your whole house. So now the living room, you all see when we walk through, walls get taken down. You remove bathrooms and kitchens, and you put them in other places. People don't like kitchens in separate rooms now. They want it part of the living experience. So you have to look at that when you're estimating your house, going, well, I'm going to move that kitchen. What does that involve? Drywall, walls, plumbing, electrical, all that has to be put into your estimate. If you don't move it, you have less expenses. But then on the back end, you can't sell it because you got a kitchen way in the back of a house. So when they give me the numbers, I come walk the house. I figure out what it's going to cost me to make it a 3-2. I give him back the numbers. I let it go. They call back and say, hey, we bought the house. Okay, here's your budget, which is what I gave them originally. And I'm let go to do my thing and turn this house into a 3-2. And then they see a finished product when I'm done with it.
Can I emphasize something? It's really important. She said you need to know whether a house is in a historical district. I want to tell you that we are getting ready. We got a permit from the city of Atlanta to do a house in 30310. We did the house. We did everything that was on the permit. Completely transformed the house. It's a beautiful house. And a neighbor who happened to be the historical rep for that area wrote a letter to the city of Atlanta and all the city council members by name. I mean, everybody, every name that could, the mayor, everybody, and said that you guys didn't adhere to the historical standards. So the city said, oh, they're right, you didn't. And we said to the city, well, golly, you gave us the permit to do the job. Doesn't matter. So we are now getting ready to tear off an entire house of hardy plank. It's taken us 60 days just to get this to the point where we're ready to settle up with the city. We're building 2 fireplaces, 2 faux fireplaces, tearing off all the siding and putting expensive wood siding on,
And
change out the windows. All this was done even though the city permitted us. So I can't emphasize enough. Yes, I was trying to find a word stronger than that. That you got to know, and there are different levels of historical. There's an A, B, and a C. C's not as bad. B's not as bad as an A, but an A, if you buy a house and you're not prepared to do the things that need to be done, it's not going to go well. And so,
Yeah, because I mean, like when I've done them before, like windows, we actually had to rebuild windows.
reframe them yourself.
Hand make them to make them comply.
What's this, A, B, or C?
This, would you say a C?
Yeah, because they're very, in this district, and that's why I said at the beginning, there's numbers. You can call the presidents up. They want you to talk to them. I just talked to the president 2 days ago of this historical society. He just said, don't change the front of the house. I don't care what you do in the back. Add on all you want. You want to add 1,000 square foot, add on. The face of the house. And that's with this district. You go to the West End district, you ain't touching none of the outside of your house. You got to have it all back to the historical way. And so it's very important that when you are looking at properties, first check to see if it's in a historical district. There's a flyer or a booklet online that gives you the president's name of every historical district and tells you to call, feel free to call them. They'll talk to you freely about what they want you to do to your house. They're not going to tell you what colors you have to do it, but they're going to say, hey, it has to have wood siding to keep it in the historic. Yeah, you can put hardy on the sides, but the front has to have wood, which is in the case of this house.
What about the trees?
That was going to be my question.
Well, when we bought this house, it did have a nice feature of a tree growing out the side of it, about this wide.
I remember that one.
I mean, it was a huge tree. It was half under the foundation and half on the outside.
Oh my God.
That was obviously a structural issue, so they had no issue with us taking down that tree. But if I want to take down that tree right there across the street, I need to have the City of Atlanta arborist down here. They have to check the tree. They have to check the life of the tree. They'll check the age of, try to guess the age of it, if it's dying at all, before they even let you touch that tree to cut it down.
Well, it didn't coming down.
And that could be weeks and weeks in planning. So that's another thing. Look at trees in your yard when you're looking at houses.
Most hardwood.
These are just, they're small enough. Anything under 6 inches usually is not required by code to cut down, at least in the City of Atlanta.
Most hardwoods, you have to get an arborist to
okay it.
all hardwoods, but most pines you can
and usually it's the base of the tree is what they care about. If it's because otherwise it could be just a sapling that fell off and started growing and it's
Are you
growing.
taking the pines down?
I haven't decided yet. We'll do that with the land when I get to the landscaping and decide what we want to do with the whole front. But chances are they're going out.
Yeah, they blocked. Yeah, I
Because
agree.
we want them to see the front of the house.
Ruin that curb appeal.
Yeah.
So we're building a house over on Harbin Road, not too far from here, that the tree recompense fee was almost $14,000. To move, to be able to build a house on that property cost us $14,000 just to pay the city for taking those trees out, and then of course the cost of removing the trees and hauling them out. So you want to know about the trees on your property when you're looking at a property.
especially if they're hardwoods. If they're
Yeah,
hardwoods,
absolutely.
got to get an arborist involved.
Yeah, it's not just you're looking at a house to renovate. You got to go from the street to your property line and look at everything. Is it on a septic tank? Has it been checked? Do you need a bigger one? If you add another bedroom, you're going to need a bigger septic tank. So it's not just, hey, I need to price out what I'm going to rehab this house for. It's, I got 5 trees out here that are in my way. I've got,
Now, I noticed
I
you
might
have
have a sewer line. That was our dumpster.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't know if you had, a lot of times there's a sewage line that
Yeah,
comes that you
a
have
lot
to
of times
replace.
you have city sewer going through the property. They have a right of way through that property. Those are all things you need to know when looking at properties, because that could be a big expense you weren't expecting. You know, I can look at a roof and I can tell you how much a roof is going to cost. I can't tell you how much that tree is going to cost to be removed, because that could vary. You know, you might have to have big tractors out here to pull it off because it'll power lines. You have to look at where your power lines are coming into your house, because that might have to get changed based on the amperage of that power line. versus what box you have, and you want to add bedrooms, you got to have bigger power lines. That means new power to your house. So it's all a one big picture to look at, not just the house.
Are there specs for the interior?
Are there specs for it?
The interior, for example, what you can do inside and what you can.
No, most historical societies could care less what you do on the inside. It's the exterior. They want the appearance, the look of that historical district, not the inside of the house. You know, that's again, check with any area is different. You might go up to Cumming, Georgia, and they might have a historical site that says, no, you can't leave the floor plan just as it is.
Yeah, I did one on the West End years ago, and I could barely do anything in that house.
It all depends
It all had to
on the
be
historic
original.
district.
Fireplace had to be original. Now they've gotten a lot more lax since then, but
yeah, it could be anything. You can't, you have to have certain colors. They may not let you change colors of a house. You know, it just all depends on what district you're in and what rules they have. And who the board president is, because that can change too.
What mood the president is.
it could change.
Excuse me?
What mood the president is in.
Yeah, it could be the mood. They could be out of the mood and say, nope, I don't want anybody doing anything today in my neighborhood.
May not like how
There's
you
people
look.
like that out there.
That's true. All right, so on the outside, you said you're going to replace the roof. So
Yes.
what's the 135? What are you spending 135 on?
I'm going to spend it on a 400 square foot addition. New roof, new plumbing, new electrical, new siding on the whole thing, new driveway all the way back to the garage, subfloor repair, foundation repair, new hardwoods, paint, drywall, new lighting, new kitchen, all new baths, and I'll get it in under 130.
Okay, so let's talk about the addition. What's your cost? What do you use as a general cost? Now I know it's specific to the house.
And we
obviously,
have
it
a
depends.
specific square foot, like
Yes, that's what I'm
we have a
asking.
special tool
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
is
How do
created
you
for us.
calculate that?
Yeah, we have a tool that was created for our company that basically tears everything down to the stud. I can tell you how many square feet, or I'll put into the program. I'm going to do 400 square foot addition. So I need 400 square foot of drywall. I need 400 square foot of lumber, framing, roofing, all that stuff. I just put it into the thing and it shoots me out a number.
Is that off the shelf, like Exacta
No,
made?
No,
or
this
that
is
you
made
built-
just
you built
for
it
us.
yourself?
This was custom made for
'Cause
our
I know
company.
Exacta made, and there's some other high-end
Exacta made is
insurance-
used by insurance companies a
insurance
lot.
companies
That's a
will
great
use it.
program. Really great program.
That if you learn how to do it, it'll do the same thing that we do. Ours is just specific to our type of work that we do, the type of houses. So when I put in there for trim, I know what my trim costs per square foot for the type of trim we use in our houses. We don't use a 3.5-inch base trim. We use 1x6s. So it'll figure it out just for that price. And I have it set up in a basic and we have it set up in a retail. So when I have those turnkey houses that we're doing, it's all going basic. Basic vanities, basic flooring, basic carpeting.
For
I
their
do
benefit-
retail.
For their benefit, what do you mean by turnkey?
Turnkey would be a house that I'm going to buy. I'm going to fix it up for a rental condition. So I'm not going to have the high-end granite unless I'm in a high-end neighborhood. I'll have Formica countertops. I'll have laminate or carpeting in the floors because it's just for a rental purpose. I'm not selling it. Once I get that house and I've got a tenant in it, I'll sell that house off to an investor and let them deal with that tenant for now. And I've made my money off that sale because now I've got an tenant in-house, and it looks better to investors because now you're just getting the rent. You don't have to do any of the work.
So when
Turnkey.
she says turnkey, what she means is she's just going to get it fixed up, put a tenant in there, start getting income, and then give it to an
Turn
investor.
the key over to them.
Yeah,
Basically
exactly.
what it is. I'm turning the key over to you.
Is that what you're doing here?
No, this is retail. This is what we
I just
call.
want because a lot of you ask that question over and over, and I want to make sure you understand what turnkey means. So when you start talking the language,
Yeah,
you understand
sorry.
what that means.
Yeah, this would be a high-end what we call a high-end A retail. And that's based on the neighborhood, the price that we're going to try to sell that. I can't go in here and put cheap base molding and vinyl flooring in here and expect to get $500,000 for
Nope.
it. So I have to put my hardwood floors in there and I have to estimate that. And that's why when he gives me that ARV at the end, this is what we want to sell it for, it already knows in my head, okay, high-end A retail. That means I'm getting granite countertops. I'm getting nicer, kitchen cabinetry. The hardwood floors that are finished. I might put carpeting in a bedroom or two, just because some people like carpeting, but for the most part, it's hardwood throughout the whole house. You'll have the better moldings on the doors and windows. You know, it won't be the normal trim molding that you get in a $200,000 house. You're going to have the molding that's in a $600,000, $500,000 house.
For like your bathrooms and kitchens, you ever get a special order or not? Or you know, or that's too far. Like
Do I do what?
Special order tile, things like that.
Oh yeah,
You do
well
that.
yeah. I have a designer that works for us. That a lot of the higher end houses, she'll come in and design. Hey, let's go with this tile. This is how I want this to look, but then gives me the freedom to make it happen. You know, okay, I can make this room a little bigger by doing this. And not everybody has that, but the company's established and has been there for a while. So you build that as you build your own companies. You say, okay, I need a friend. You might have a friend that's a designer. Hey, could you come look at this house and what would you do? Paint colors? You know, you go into a Home Depot or a Lowe's or something, there's 5,000 paint colors. How do you know what's going to sell the best? Look at what's on the market. Look at what's selling in that neighborhood. Look at the colors, look at the style, look at the tiles, and that'll give you your answers.
In fact, most of our houses, if you were to go and look at all of our listings over a span of a year, you're going to see that we use about 5 tile packages, about 5 different colors of paint, 4 or 5 different kinds of flooring, and exterior interior colors that are consistent from house to house. Try to make it match the neighborhood, but other than that, we try to take a lot of that decision making out. These houses in this neighborhood sold for this amount of money with this genre of product in it. Let's stick with that. It works. Until it quits working, you stick with what works. It doesn't matter that house 6 doors up we sold has the exact same interior as this one.
Yeah, they don't care.
Who cares? It's what's
Who's going to
They
even
may
know?
never meet each other.
Exactly.
You may never get back in that house. I mean, it's not like the old days where you knew all your neighbors. Now I could be 6 doors up and I have no clue, but I could have the exact same house. And neither would know the difference of it. And you just find what fits in that area. If you see, you know, you won't see vinyl on any of these houses that are selling for $500,000. You just won't see it because it's not appropriate. Go up north, they're all vinyl houses for $500,000 without a problem. Chesapeake, Virginia, they're all vinyl houses. Down here, you wouldn't get past with vinyl houses. You want wood or you're going to have hardy siding, and that's the only thing that's going to be acceptable in this price range. $150,000 price range, put vinyl on it. They don't care. It's an expectation with that price group, and that's just, you got to learn that for what works for you and what area you're working in. Is, hey, what's going to work in this area? What's the least expensive way to make the best product?
All right. Get
So questions?
questions from the audience.
How close are we to the Beltline?
We're not super
This
far
isn't
from
a
it.
belt. This is not a Beltline house to where it had anything to do with the Beltline. The Beltline that we have focused on has been 30310, which is on the other side of downtown, out I-20. Bought a lot of houses there because of the Beltline.
All right, so
30310. Yeah.
so what else are we doing to this house on the outside?
On
So
the
possibly
outs-
removing these trees.
Yeah, the cypresses will probably get removed. We'll redo the front porch, keeping it the same, but obviously making it more newer and better looking and secure, because right now it slopes a lot.
It's in a black case
So when I walk in a house, I always
It's
do
bigger than
every
that.
house the exact same way. I walk in and I go to the right. I go out, I come to the front of the house, I go to the right. That way I know I don't miss something. If you go into a house and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that looks neat, you might miss a whole bedroom up here or some structural issues or something like that that you need to check. So you just keep the same pattern all the time. Right side, in and out. Right side, in and out. And you'll catch everything. You know, you go through a room, you literally walk every room. We'll do that and we'll go inside and we'll walk the house as I did. Now, granted, there's walls gone. There's floors gone. There's a little bit of everything gone in this
Yeah,
house.
that reminds me. When you go inside, this is an active site. This is an active work site. So please be careful. Don't just wander off without looking down. 'Cause
Not a
there
lot of
could
places
be-
to wander off in there.
Well,
It's
there
one
could be
room.
holes in floors. There could
Yeah.
be things.
So just be
nails-
careful because it is
nails
it is
sticking out,
active construction.
boards, so just be careful.
Huh? Yeah. Oh no, Mr. Bill. But yeah, on the outside here, we'll clean up the whole yard. We'll sod the whole front yard.
That was going to be a question. Are you going to
Yeah,
sod this
we'll
time?
sod the front because right now, in order to get into the backyard, you have to come up this driveway. And if you put a dumpster in the driveway, you can't get back there with any equipment. So we had them dump the dumpster in the front yard. hence the big gouge in the yard and everything. The sidewalk will get cleaned up. If we came in and this sidewalk was all crumbled in that, we might rip the whole thing out and put paver stones because it's just a lot nicer look, and it doesn't cost as much. Just because I'm removing this doesn't mean I can't put paver stones as the front sidewalk with some gravel around it. I've got the same use, but half the price. You know, so that's what I mean by look at what you're doing and look at the different costs. Cheapest cost, best look. You know, same thing here. We'll driveway, we'll finish that off all the way up the side where we just tore it all out for the addition, so that because it's got a garage. Nobody else has a garage in this entire area. We got a nice garage in the backyard.
All right. So,
The retaining wall is their property, so I can't do anything to it. I can't touch their property without their permission. Now, if I went over and said, hey, it's ugly, can I paint it? Can I do something? They might say, yeah.
Probably
but
would.
I'm improving the neighbors, but I'm also improving mine. You know, so it might work out set top with the neighbors on it.
all right. So let's go inside.
Just watch your step.
Part of it's filled in.
So as you all walk up in here, and I'm gonna let you walk on inside, look at the ceiling out here, and you don't think anything but peeled paint, correct? That's all lead-based paint.
Don't peel it off and take a bite out.
Yeah, Art, don't be eating the lead-based paint, buddy.
Just so you all know, the EPA is very active in this area to make sure that lead base is cleaned up properly. So one of the things I do when I come in is I test for lead-based paint because I'm certified lead-based renovator. Automatically, yep, lead-based paint. I write it on my notes because I know there's going to be a cost to clean that up. Because if the EPA was to come by where you're doing this house and they do a lot of older areas, that's a $10,000 fine for you. Just so you know what lead-based paint is.
Will they make you tint it and all when you do it?
No, we don't have to tint it off. It's mostly about, that's for the asbestos.
Okay.
Lead-based paint, it's just a matter of the cleanup is all they're concerned about, that it does not get out into the air. So I may have to plastic off the porch area in order to scrape all this down. Same thing within the house. And as you walk in,
I'm assuming that's not a low-grade wall. Is the wall here?
yeah, the fireplace. I'm gonna let everybody walk in. You can walk on it, it's all secure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all, I made sure they had it all secure for everybody.
You guys come on in and reassemble.
Because I'm assuming that I would have assumed that would have been a LVL.
Distance. And they needed to get, they may change that for that wall afterwards, but we need to get this wall done. Come on in, walk on in. As you walk in, you're going to be walking into what used to be two fireplaces. Hence the big hole in the roof up there. We will rebuild the chimney part of it to keep the aesthetics for the Historical Society, but now this is my living room. Those over there, that used to be a bedroom, and this was the living room. So when walking on your houses, you have to use that imagination of how can I make this more appealing to a buyer walking into the house. Do you really want them walking into a small little living room this size, knowing you're putting an addition on the back of the house? Because that information was already given to me. So I had our guys come in. There's plaster on all the walls. A lot of times save money, leave the plaster, add 1/4 inch drywall right over top of it. Because to remove this plaster, as you see, there's a lot of lath and everything that all has to be removed. Guess what? That's another dumpster load. That dumpster is another $400 that you didn't have to spend by putting 1/4 inch drywall over top of it.
Plus labor.
Yeah, so, and yeah, plus the labor, plus the cost of, materials. Now you gotta replace all that instead of just putting something over top of it. A homeowner don't care if there's plaster underneath their drywall. They could care less. As long as it looks pretty, they could care less.
Right.
And it's not a safety issue, it's not a hazard issue. Again, lead-based paint on the ceilings. So there has to be a certain cleanup process that has to go when you're dealing with that lead-based paint. There's documentation. Ours always stays in our front window, so if the EPA ever walks by, she sees my front door says danger lead-based paint, I'm letting everybody know that coming in here, there's lead-based paint. There's also an envelope there she can pull out and it's got all the paperwork showing how we did the cleanup, who did the cleanup, what time we did the cleanup. Pictures, all that has to be there. As we walk through, he's standing on the two fireplaces, but now we've got a full, nice sized living room for this size of house. You have to go with what is, you don't want to make a big living room and have little 10 by 10 bathrooms, or 10 by 10 bedrooms. You want to make it comparable to the existing house size. So there used to be a wall that came all the way through here, and that was the door where he's standing, that was the door into that bedroom. They put a new beam in it, make it change to an LVL when our architect gives me the actual drawings for the whole house. So I got an interior permit only to get me started while he does all that. Otherwise I have guys sitting around doing nothing. So if you plan it right, that takes 2 days to get that permit. And you can start demoing everything on the inside. Just can't touch the outside till he's got the permit ready, the exterior permit. As we walk through, there used to be a wall right here. You can see where the missing floor. This is a lot of things people will miss. They'll say, oh, look at these hardwood floors are great. As you walk back further, you'll see they're not so great. That they're hidden by things. They're hidden by walls. They're hidden by subfloors, water damage, cabinets. That is all a big expense. So you really want to do your due diligence in looking at don't just walk through and say, yep, floors look great, and here I'll just refinish them. Because as you walk through, you'll see there's some are buckled, which is a replacement and fill-in areas. When you're removing fireplaces, now how am I going to fill all that in? So you got to know that how much wood you're going to need to fill in, so you put that in your budget and your estimates for your repairs. And then this was, apparently, according to my neighbor across the street, was the band room. This had foam insulation, like that, egg carton insulation, over the whole entire walls and everything, because they played their band music in here. One thing I do, I meet every one of my neighbors. If they're around, I meet every one of them, especially when you start in construction. It'll save you calls to the city, it'll save you calls, to anybody that's going to aggravate you, by just meeting them neighbors and giving them your phone number and saying, hey, if you have any issues, I'm apologizing now for all the debris, for all the trucks, the contractors that are going to be around. But if there's anybody here after 6 o'clock at night, give me a call, because you have theft too. A lot of robberies in these houses. They see new construction, they think new materials. We've had refrigerators, we've had whole appliances, tile, light fixtures taken out of our house. We had the granite taken off of our kitchen counter. But by knowing your neighbors, they're watching. It's the cheapest security you'll ever get for your houses, because they're all going to watch it. They want to see what you're doing. So they're constantly watching your house. Back here is what used to be the kitchen. This was a wall up here, and this was a complete wall up here. And like I said earlier, they don't want kitchens in rooms. They want it open to the space. So you got to budget in removal of all these walls. You got to play with the wiring now. So new plumbing, because the vent stack has to go somewhere. So it's something that always keeping track of. Hey, I want to open this kitchen up. Remember all the expenses that go with it. The electrical.
Will they allow you to put this vent stack on the outside wall?
Not here they will. Not in the historical district. Some they will. But it's no big deal. I'll build it into that wall right there when the plumber comes through. He'll build it into wherever it needs to be. If it's the outside wall here, like I could put it out here.
Georgia's a little different because they don't have the winter.
Yes, we don't have the freezes. We get it once a year. But keep an eye when you're looking at houses. Think of the design that you want in your head as you're walking through it, because it's going to change. I guarantee you, whatever you walk through that house with is not going to be your finished product. Because when you get time to actually sit down and work in that house, it's like we pulled out this wall and we put, this is our new master. If you look through the openings in the wall, that's the new master bedroom. Used to have a full bath up in that front corner where y'all can't walk in. We have a border cross. That's going to be the new master closet now. Because I know I've got to redo all the plumbing in the house, put it where I want now. Got to pay for it anyway. And this little part right here that she just walked out of is going to be the hall bath. It's going to be a half bath. Accessible by the dining room, because I didn't want it right out of the living room, because you just don't want that. So that's going to be a half bath. So you have to think about this going at the beginning stages. What's this going to cost me? Because at the end, that's where your budget goes out the roof. Oh, I want that closet over there now. Guess what? Your budget just went up. So we're going to put a door right where he's standing. There's going to be a door going into that bedroom. It used to be there, but they tore off the drywall. There was drywall right on top of this, along with the foam stuff. Back side of the house, which y'all can't really walk in, and you can if you walk through the dirt. To the left was the laundry room, and it looked like it was an addition to the house at some point in time. The whole right side was the master suite, was the master bathroom. it'll remain the master bathroom. It's just getting the subfloor repaired. You see all the subfloor is gone. And when you walk around the house, you'll see the wall that this is standing on is completely rotted out. Something you would not be able to see during an inspection, but you have to plan for that, especially in the old houses.
Do you make it
I'm right here.
automatic process to replace all the main lines coming in?
No, we very rarely change the cast iron. Only if it's damaged or it's bad. Like a lot of them will be leaking because they have the seals. All it is a pipe sitting inside another pipe. There's nothing screwed on. There's nothing. It's basically a pipe sitting in another pipe, and the way that it's built will allow it to last forever. The problem is the minute they get bumped, you broke that seal, and it leaks, and there's no way to just repair it. So a lot of times you'll get in and you'll see a bunch of caulk or tar inside that pipe. Well, you know there's a leak there. So plan on replacing that line. We'll replace it at that point if we see that there's damage or duct tape. We've had them duct tape before. Duct tape cures all.
Yeah, it does.
It's that waterproof duct tape.
Duct tape and Bondo.
I don't think they really care. It's still dripped in the crawl space. But there's knowing that or having a contractor that really knows what he's talking about will help you out tremendously in the end. Because, yeah, you can say, well, I know plumbing. Yeah, I didn't know that about cast iron, that it actually just sat inside each other. And I've been contracting for 20 years. But I was a remodeler. Never dealt with a lot of cast iron. You know, depending on what area you're in, it's PVC pipes, it's the polybutylene pipes. All those things are good to know what type of plumbing you have, because people don't like polybutylene lines. The old stuff that used to bust everywhere, they don't like it in their houses. So plan on replacing it, or you're going to lose your price on your house.
Do you put the new PEX in there, or do you?
We do PEX.
Copper.
Yeah, our plumber does PEX. Copper's just too expensive. But they will put PEX lines in. When this house gets redone, it'll all be PEX and PVC
I'm
pipes.
interested to see how long, they used to say that about polybutylene. That was the new latest and greatest thing, and now they say this PEX is the new latest and greatest thing. But it hasn't been around long enough, and everybody's putting in everything.
Correct. It has not.
But
It's
it
not
hasn't
like
been
copper.
around enough, because I see the same thing happen. Even though it expands where poly didn't, the joints are still put together the same.
Yes, they still use a little copper band to tie it onto the fitting.
So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play out in the next
Yeah.
10 to 15 years. Because everybody's going to PEX.
Yeah, and the nice thing is it's bendable. So when
Yes.
you have to go around a corner,
Well, anybody can install it.
Yeah.
All you need is a little crimping tool,
yeah,
and anybody
you don't
can
even
become
need
a
that. You
plumber.
got shark bites now. It also works with shark bites.
Yeah.
So anybody could be a plumber these days.
Exactly.
But as long as you know enough about it to be dangerous, you can get through flipping a house and have somebody there that knows
Well,
framing.
I'm going to give my disclaimer like I always do at every one of these.
Yeah.
If you're brand new and you've not done one of these, do yourself a favor. Do not try this type of property on your own.
Not on the first one.
Get somebody to help you. Get somebody that can coach you along, that's done a bunch of these, because it will be the best time and best money you could possibly spend. Otherwise, contractors are going to eat you alive if you're not familiar with them. Permitting, I mean, we have some folks in our PPG that have their very first one. It's taken months for permitting. I mean, 6 months.
They still don't have the permit.
They still don't have the permits.
And there's people you can hire that'll pull the permits for you.
Right. There's
For a cost.
expediters. There's all kinds of folks.
That's
so
their whole
those
job.
are the little things that you may not know, and it could literally make the difference between a great experience or a nightmare experience for you.
Yeah, the city of Atlanta permitting
Yeah,
is
one and done.
not friendly to people.
Yes.
It is friendly to people that know the system. And if you don't know that system, you're going to spend days down there. Literally days, 8-hour days, going from one department to another and sitting.
Yeah, they're not the most helpful. So
Yeah, they don't.
Unless you're
I
very
mean, they'll-
specific and you know exactly what you want, they can point you where you tell them. But if you don't know where you want to go, they're not
not
going
gonna tell you where you need to
They're
go.
not going to tell you.
And there are people out there that their whole job is to pull their permit for you. They know every department in there. They know what it needs to be done. You're like, hey, these are my drawings. Can you pull the permit for me? Sure. How long will it take? 2 weeks. All right. 2 weeks later, here's your permit back. Now you go and do that yourself, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks because you just don't know what needs to be done. What permits do you need to pull? Mechanical permits, plumbing permits, electrical permits all have to be pulled by the licensed contractor.
And
You can't pull their permits for them.
And
Right.
be careful when you're in neighborhoods like this that has setbacks. Because if you say, you know what, I'd like to put a door right here out into my driveway. You go 2 feet further this way, you may have to get a variance. Because your footprint of your house goes outside of that.
Yeah,
And-
changing the footprint of a house is your biggest thing. You can do whatever, I could take out every wall in this house if I want to. They would have no problem with it. Minute I step an inch outside the frame footprint of this house, it's all a different story.
Yeah, we've had people just put one step, like a regular cement step or a wooden step, and because they did that, they've encroached on the
Right of way or the city's,
and they've had
there's
to
just
go
rules
through a
for
variance,
everything.
and then the variance gets denied, and the next thing you know, they can't do it, and the project gets delayed months. So be careful. That's why I said if you're brand new at this, I don't want to discourage you because I think this is the greatest
It is.
business to be in. But just do it. Just be smart, and just find somebody that you trust that can help you, that can be on your side and hold you by the hand and walk you through a project this size. If you want to do paint and carpet, that's one thing. But you want to do something like this where you're changing walls, changing
Everything.
plumbing,
changing everything.
$130,000 rehab.
Yeah, you don't want to do that on your own.
And it's fun to get to spend somebody else's money too, just saying.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. Then your boss says, hey, you got $130,000. Cool. What can I do? Well, that front living room is going to probably get coffered ceilings. Just because I know it's in the budget, and that would be a great thing because we have high ceilings here. They're not 8-foot ceilings, they're 9-foot ceilings. So putting in a nice coffered ceiling in this historical district is only going to help me sell this house quicker and for more money. Because those custom touches that don't cost anything to do. I mean, you're talking a few hundred in material to do coffered ceilings up there, but it'll return a few thousand.
Yeah.
So knowing those things and knowing your area that you're wanting to buy a house in, what makes it a better house? It could be the cheapest thing in the world. You might be laminate floors. That might be a typical thing in your area. Well, great. Go to the auctions and look at typical, laminate floors. There's many ways to save money outside of Home Depot and Lowe's. There's tons of places you can get material for next to nothing.
So we got any questions in here from the audience?
What about termites?
Termites, I have a termite guy on, well, he's not on staff, but he works for us. When I do an inspection, I will look in the crawl space to see if I see any signs of it, but he'll already be out here. Once I purchase this house, I'll send my termite guy in. He'll look for fungus in the basement and crawl spaces, and he'll inspect and treat for termites right from the beginning.
I've been looking for termite damage on a lot of our on-sites, and I haven't seen many.
There's only a little bit on this house.
Because most people don't even know what termite, there's a difference between termite damage and water damage. And sometimes they look identical. You need to know what you're looking at. If you have, I don't know if you have
It's up
any.
here, yeah, it's up on that side of the house. Near, I think, one of the windows, you'll see the channeling, which is basically tunnels through the wood. And you can actually see the tunnels through the wood. That's a termite damage. They're subterranean. They come out from under the ground, and they find wood on the outside of the house, and they just start eating up. You have ant damage, wood-eating ants that actually live in wood. And that's more of chunks missing out of the wood than tunnels.
Beetle powder.
Excuse me?
Beetle powder.
Yep, the beetles. You got all types of insects that'll ruin your house for you.
Yep.
Best thing to do is protect that investment the day you buy it. Get that termite inspection. You're going to have it anyway when you sell the house. Your buyer's going to ask for a termite letter. You're already done with it. And you've also found any problem sources that may be in your home that you don't have to find at the end of the project. When you actually send a termite letter in, or termite guy in to inspect, oh yeah, this whole wall's damaged, it's going to need to be replaced. Well, had you done it at the beginning, you would have saved all that time and money.
Yep.
And it's easy. When it's at this stage, it's easy for him. He's like, cool, it's already open. No vapor barrier down. He can go down, he can treat it, he can spray whatever he needs. Then we put our vapor barrier down at the bottom, and we're done with it.
Yep.
Yep. So can you talk about this 400-foot addition you're putting on?
Yes. As you see through this doorway right here, this is going to be a hallway coming straight through. There'll be a laundry room on the left. This back wall will be part of the bathroom. And then there'll be 2 more bedrooms back here equaling that 400 square feet. So
Okay.
they're going to be nice sized beds. They'll be equal to the master bedroom in size. We did it, the way this house was built, that whole dirt area back there was all concrete. And when you walk around the house on the outside, you'll actually see the concrete line on the siding, because they actually poured concrete over the aluminum siding, which was, now we're all below grade, which is obviously out of code. Water damage, you see we got a lot of water damage on this outside. So we ripped the driveway up from basically this back room all the way back, because we have a garage. Nobody has a garage anywhere around here. That's just like an extra money on your investment, especially down here. Carports are bonus. Garages that are structurally sound, even better. Because now we don't have to tear down the building. They got a place to park it, private. You know, and they keep it parked. Yeah, you're not parked on the road, get dinged up. So we will, after we're done with the whole addition, we'll re-pour that driveway and go back to that garage so that they can pull straight back into the garage. It'll all be hardy sided because that's the historical district allows it on the back. But it's basically going to be just, it'll look like it was part of this house. Nobody will know it's an addition.
Now, what are your expectations on the timeline of getting this complete?
13 weeks. A week for every $10,000. That's how we estimate it out. That's what it should take you, is every $10,000 in your budget should be a week of work. Now, you might have a week where it's $10,000 in material, but the next week it all might be $10,000 in labor. But that's what the average comes out to. Now, give or take your permit issues, that might take time. But the day I start construction, and I got my permit, to the day I finish should be 13 weeks. Barring any more problems.
So how far are you into it so far, and when do you expect to be finished?
We're about 2 weeks into it.
Okay.
And now we're basically at a standstill waiting on our we've got an interior permit only. On the inside. We're waiting on our exterior permit for the addition to do the whole outside.
So
You
in a
can't touch it.
project this size, doing this type of work, how many permits and what permits do you?
Usually you only have to get one permit, which would be the whole house. But because I wanted to start it quickly and get my guys out here and get it demoed to see what was in my walls, I went ahead and put it doesn't cost much.
So what permit, if somebody were to do something, what permit would they be asking for down at?
Just either an express permit or an interior renovation permit. They're just general permits. They don't require drawings. They don't require an architect to come in and design it all out for you. It's basically I'm rehabbing the inside of the house. Knowing that we're having a full renovation done, he already let the city of Atlanta know that hey, we're just pulling this so we can get started on the work while we get this permit that takes longer to get through because the addition. It has to go through a lot more zoning. It's got, got to make sure there's no trees in the area because they're big on trees down here.
Yeah.
You know, so that takes longer. Do I want to wait 6 weeks to start on the house, or can I start on it now? I can see problems. Okay, well now that I found all these problems, that just takes up the time that they're building that permit. So as soon as that permit comes for the addition, they're ready to just keep moving right on. They don't have to go fix subfloors and everything else. They're preparing this to connect it to another addition already. And so that's the only reason it's got 2 different permits.
Are you putting a gas stove in?
We'll have gas stove. We'll have.
Don't you have to get a permit for the gas?
If it's already in there, we don't have to.
It's probably not. Right?
Yep, you'll see the gas line sitting right
Oh, it
there.
is, okay, it is there.
Yeah, and you notice, when you look at houses, that's the one thing you want to do. Notice the utilities. Notice if there's gas or electric stove, because there's a difference in prices. If it's you can go buy a gas stove for $500-600. But if it's a slide-in stove, where it actually slides in, you're looking at $1,200. That's a big jump in price, and that's your basic model.
Yeah, because you're gonna need it. What you'll need is like a downdraft.
Yeah, and you want a wall oven. Hey, wall ovens are great, but they're expensive. You know, so those are just things that you look at. I knew there was gas in here, so I'm like, okay, gas appliance. I'm putting a Peninsula in here. I know it's going to be a $1,200 appliance because I'm going to have a slide-in. I'm going to have the downdraft. You know, so when I do my estimation, I'm already thinking how I want to tear this house apart.
Because you do know the difference between stoves, right? A normal stove that is the $400, $500, it has the back on it. That leans up against the wall and usually has the clock and sometimes the knobs. Whereas the ones you put into an island are flat. There's no back to it. And a lot of times if you choose, like sometimes we don't put vent hoods up. So in order to do that, you have to have what's called a downdraft. So it has to suck the air down into the floor and then out.
And know your measurements. Know what cabinet measurements are. Because that's a basic item that's in every house. They're all 24 inches. Except in a bathroom. They're 22. They could be even smaller, but you have to know those things. Take a trip to Home Depot. Start looking at measurements. Start looking at sizes. Start looking at products out there, because you need to know, hey, if I'm going to put my kitchen here, I've got 4 feet of it already taken away just in cabinet space. There's no way I can put an island in here. You know, but you like say, no, I want an island, it'll fit. You go buy all this material, yeah, it doesn't fit because you didn't take that time to learn measurements, learn what products are out there and what they're good for and what they're bad for. Because it could be everything from light fixtures to a plumbing fixture. You can go out and spend $1,000 on the same plumbing fixture I can spend for $100. I just know where to buy it. Learn your different trade areas. You know, your Home Depot, your Lowe's, your PNCs. There's small family operated businesses that'll sell you the exact same thing Home Depot will for the same exact price. But they might have a better selection of stuff. You know, you don't have to special order it because they're custom making your stuff right there. And it actually comes out cheaper sometimes than special ordering stuff. So by just taking that little time of learning your businesses in the area, learning what type of businesses are out there, get more than one estimate. If you're going to get a contractor to come do your plumbing, get 3 estimates. You're going to get a high one, you're going to get a really low one, and you'll get one in the middle. Go with the one in the middle would be my suggestion. Your high one's out there to cover his expenses. Your low one's there just to get a work. You don't know what kind of work he's going to do. That middle one is a secure. He's not overcharging you. He's not undercharging you to get the job. He knows what his cost is going to be. You know, and you want to do that with every aspect if you're not doing the work yourself.
And make sure you get references and make sure you see
And you
their
check them.
before and after shots. And, you know, try to visit, if you can, try to visit the project that they're currently working on.
Because there's a lot of shady contractors out there. I won't.
You think?
Well, you know, I wasn't one of them, but there are a lot of them out there that will. They're asking for a huge amount down to start the project. Move on. Giving them a small amount to start is no problem because they're going to get the dumpster out here. They're going to get those things. But if you're putting on a roof and they're telling you they need a half down, no, go with another. There's plenty of roofing companies out there that do not require down payments to put your roof on.
Yeah, I mean,
you pay at the end.
We have students that get a contractor and they say they want half of the money up front. So if it's a $60,000 renovation, they want 30 grand up front.
Walk
don't
away.
Don't ever do that. Right. You know, if they need money, like she said, if they need money for what I call materials to get started, you know, some 2x4s or the materials to put the roof on or something small and minimal, fine. But if they're looking for 25, 30, 40, 50%,
there's no reason for it.
There's just, that should be a huge red flag to walk away.
And you can look, there's programs online from banks that tell you what a bank pays out on new construction loans, and it very easily goes over to the flip side. They pay out a certain amount up front. Then when you're at 10% of the project, you should be paid 10%. If you're at 50% of the project, you should have gotten 50%. You shouldn't be at 75% of money paid out already when you're only halfway done with the job. That means they're having financial issues. So there are ways to protect yourselves from roofing contractors, from regular contractors that are going to try to rip you off because you're either new at this or I can blow smoke anywhere. I can tell you, yeah, this is only going to cost $5,000. Get me the job. And then get in there. Well, I didn't know that this was here. Now it's costing you $25,000. A good contractor would have known it from the beginning. They would have crawled underneath that house. They would have looked and see what kind of damage is there and given you a price. But there are people out there that'll give you a low price just to get the job. And once they get started, you feel obligated. Because I can give you a sob story that why that needs to be repaired. And it may not need to be repaired at all. But if I can get more money out of you for doing that, there's people out there that'll do it.
So what's a good percentage to start off with the contractor?
I usually start off with about 10%, depending on the project size. 10%, you know, if 50,000 is $5,000, not much. That gives them a dumpster. Some will put like materials to start off. Some will put porta potties on because, as you see, there's no bathroom here. So anytime it's mostly guys, unfortunately. So they got the backyard, but the women can't go in the backyard. So we'll put porta potties on our projects because I am the only woman out there in my whole company. But we'll do that, or I have my real estate key, so I just go, oh, look, house for sale. Free bathroom. Sorry.
That's pretty smart.
But when you're in areas that are not as nice as this one, some of the gas stations don't feel very safe for a woman to walk into. You just don't want to. So think about that. If you have female contractors that are working for you, think about their needs. Otherwise, they're running up the street to the closest gas station they feel safe in
Yeah, and that's taking
to
time.
use, and that's an hour off your project here and there, or 2 hours off
Yeah.
your project.
Yep.
You know, so that's just, it's things to consider
Also,
when looking at your crew.
I would rather, if you're brand new, I would rather you have more draws than less draws. Because most contractors, not all, can't manage their money. Or their people that work for them can't manage their money. So they're always looking for that payday every Friday. And if you don't give that to them, or at least kind of corral them in that direction, what'll happen is they'll go out. If you're saying, nope, you're not done with that draw schedule. You're not done with what we said you were going to get paid. Okay? If that's the case, what happens is they'll go bid another job. They'll go get that money from another job just to take care of their cash flow problems.
And you have
So-
agreements with that. When you hire a contractor for any of your jobs, you can either do it verbal agreement, text message, email, have something in writing.
Yep.
Because if you don't, it's he said, she said.
Yep.
And it's very easy for a contractor to put a lien on a house, and you can't do anything to the house until that lien is removed.
Going
So-
through that right now.
So get your estimates, get multiple ones. When you find one that you feel comfortable with, that you like, because everybody's gonna have a different contractor that they're comfortable with. Go over the pay schedule with him. This is how I pay. I pay like a bank does. You'll get 10% up front as you finish the project, and you can create your own deadlines. It could be when you're at 20% or when you got the drywall up, which is usually, when you got the drywall, you're about halfway there, because the rest is just finish work. Cabinetry, lighting, plumbing, and that. Your plumbers, electricians, you shouldn't pay them until they've got their roof done. They might, depending if they're new electricians or new plumbers, they might need a little money to get materials, but plumbing materials don't cost much.
Most plumbers have a van
And,
full
of everything they
everything
need.
they need.
But you just say, hey, when you get the rough plumbing done, or the rough electrician, that's when you'll get half the payment, or someone will charge 75% because the only part that's left is hooking up the fixture. So the majority of the work is done. But that's something you guys need to negotiate with your contractors before they start work, not after they've started. Because once they've started, they've got you. So you want to do it beforehand.
Do you buy liability insurance for a specific project to cover some accidents?
We have insurance on every one of our properties.
In every one?
Every one of our
Yes,
properties are insured. The day we buy it, we've already got it insured.
And you should have your contractor sign a waiver of
Liability.
hold harmless agreements, independent contractor agreement.
That's just in case they get hurt on your property, they can't come back and come after you because they fell off a ladder.
Right.
So you get that taken care of up front, and it's everything you can find online. You can find all this paperwork online if you just search for it. It's free. But it holds you not responsible for them falling off a ladder because, again, the unscrupulous contractor is going to come to your house, fall off a ladder, say his back hurts, and he's going to sit at home for a month while you're paying everything for
Or
him.
get hurt at his softball game
Yeah.
and come to work.
And say he got
limp
hurt.
to work and say he got hurt at work.
So to protect your own, this is your investment. This is y'all's future. Protect it like you would your kid, because that's what it is. It's your new baby. You protect it with insurance. You make sure that it's covered in case of fire, vandalism, theft. When they come in and steal $5,000 worth of material, which they do all the time. Secure your buildings. Don't just put a lock on the door. Bolt that door shut. Put wood across your back doors. Secure them doors. It's 2 nail holes, but it's really hard to break that door open.
Each property is a new company. It's an LLC or something like that. So each property is covered for a new company? Or no, it's already-
Well, I don't know. I can't speak
I'm
for
my
them.
own LLC. I have just me personally working for another company. I'm still an LLC.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, why don't we do this? Let's take this outside.
where it's cooler?
Yes.
Yep.
Well,
We'll
y'all
start,
got that light
we'll
shining,
start to
so
wrap
it's really
things
hot.
up.
Okay. But when you're talking about
Watch your step.
insurance, your contractor can't go after you personally if you're an LLC. They can only go after the LLC. But if you're not incorporated, they can come after your house.
Okay.
So you want to You know, if you're going to start something like this, you're going to start dealing with people getting hurt, because they will happen.
It does. Absolutely does.
So the question I have for you is, are you asking, do each house have its own LLC?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
My company itself does.
Yeah, like
Metro Atlanta Holdings has an LLC.
Yeah, so when they bought this house, the owners, they probably put it into their LLC.
Yes.
Okay? Not all houses have to have their own LLC. Some people actually put houses, depending on the advice they get from whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, some may put each house in its own LLC, depending on the amount of equity, depending on where it is. Some houses, we use land trusts for that. Each house may be owned by a different separate land trust. Or we may have 6 houses owned by one LLC or one corporation.
Well,
It depends on the deal.
Yeah, the thing about it is, I own this house. It's going to be worth $500,000. I also own 23 other houses at this time. So it all being under the same LLC allows somebody that gets damaged on one property to go after all those 23 assets. Whereas, I'm just giving you an example. Whereas if you had each house under an LLC, they can only go after that one house. They can't go after the other 22 houses. And that's the only difference as to why they would do that.
Sandy, I have a question. You said the facade has to be all wood. This is not wood siding.
That's metal. It's all coming off.
But
And we'll
why
put wood
is
back
already
on.
existing, so why are they making you put
That's a
wood?
great question.
This is existing.
I could leave it just like it is.
you can?
Yeah, I can't. They'll let me leave it just like it is. Because he even said, he goes, oh, we already got nice wood.
But hardy plank is already better than this. It's already
It is better, but it's not the same thing. And they want it wood. If you come, when you walk around the side and pull that metal off, you'll see the original siding on the
Yeah, but it
house.
wasn't wood. It's not wood now when you bought it.
No, I can leave this up here.
Okay.
And I'm fine. They
Yeah.
will do nothing about
You
it.
can paint it. Okay.
But to sell this house, I can't sell it with
Right,
aluminum
exactly.
siding. So when I pull that off,
You got
guess
wood.
what's underneath? Asbestos siding is underneath all this.
So you
house.
can't wrap the wood over.
No, because it's, for one, you'd have to get the construction part of it. You see the lip?
Yeah, well, yeah.
When I go in, I'll have, it's not going to equal exactly what a hardy piece of hardy siding was good.
So there's
So
not
you get
wood
extra.
under here, there's asbestos under here?
Asbestos.
But I'm not removing the
And then
asbestos. I'll wrap it, and then I'll put my siding right over top of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then I see the porch next door is a new add-on. That's more modern. And you're saying you can't have.
Every house on this street is different.
Gotcha.
It's based on the age of the house. That house may not have been built till the 1960s.
Got you.
So they're going to have, and it's already in the historical societies, their map, their geos, I think is what it's called. They've already got every single house marked based on the age.
Okay.
So when I called him yesterday and I said, hey, I called him last week, he finally called me back. And I said, hey, I bought this house. I want to know what your rules are. And he's like, well, he goes, well, the siding looks like the original wood. I'm like, except for it's aluminum. But he's looking at a picture from satellite, so to get that detail. I'm like, we'd like to put it to hardy. And he's like, not on the front. Wood back on the front. The sides
can be hardy.
based on the age of my house. Now that house might be different. They're still going to have the basic front. You can't change the front.
Okay.
But the material's allowed to be used. They want it to keep with that house's age. So if this is a 60s or 70s house, they're going to want the materials to be equivalent to a 60s or 70s house.
Okay, gotcha.
So that way it stays in that historical of what it always has been.
Gotcha. Okay.
Makes sense. All right, you guys got any final questions? Let's move on down to the yard.
So you're just putting the wood or hardy on top of the asbestos?
I'll wrap it and seal it in, and you put the lead on top of it.
You guys gather around. We're going to wrap up here real quick.
Yes. Because, yes, sir. Well, in any house, the bigger the rooms are, the harder it is to cool and to heat. 9-foot ceiling isn't going to cost you any much more than an 8-foot ceiling. Now, if I put 12-foot ceilings in, it's gonna raise my utility rates overall because heat rises. So all that heat rises up to the 12 feet. I'm still trying to cool it as it's all rising. That's where you do good insulation. You do extra insulation in your attics to help keep that coolness or that heat down within that room. But yeah, but value-wise, if you got 12-foot ceilings, I'll take it any day over an 8-foot ceiling.
All right, you guys got any final questions before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I've got one. I was at a rehab off, there's a Atlanta REIA rehab, it was a presentation, whatever, close to Ponce City Market. And the contractor there said, always look at the sockets to make sure you got 3 holes, not 2, otherwise you got to rewire the house. You got 2-hole sockets in here.
It's all getting rewired.
So
anyway.
what's that going to cost?
For the new meter and the panel is going to be $6,950. And then depending on the size of the house,
Put a new panel, it's half that.
yeah, half that if you don't have to do the panel. Because the problem is these older houses only had 100 amps coming to the houses. I'm adding 400 square feet. There's no way I can do that in a 100 amp panel circuit. Otherwise, I'd just leave the existing panel. And what you can do, there's ways to go around the 2-prong versus the one with the grounded wire. It means you put a GFI in every single breaker, which is expensive. But it's a way that every single outlet now is GFI protected.
Really? So you can bypass doing that? And they're happy with the switches and all?
Yeah, the inspectors are happy as long as every single GFI, every single outlet is now GFI.
What about the switch? You got a switch in that too?
No, just the all the breakers, and that way it basically puts everything under a GFI. So you might have a lot of break, but it creates that ground where it doesn't exist. You have contractors out there that'll cheat it, and they'll just wire it to a box so that when the inspector reads it, it'll show grounded, but there's no ground.
All right, any other final questions?
Too late for marketing questions.
You said you can buy outside of Home Depot and Lowe's?
I do it all the time.
What do you mean by, like, where do you go?
Like PNC Building Materials, there's Luma Supply, Building Surplus, there's all kinds of independent owners of businesses
Right.
that would much rather have your business than Home Depot does. Home Depot, you're a number to them. And I love Home Depot. It's my favorite shopping place. But you're a number to them. Whereas those small Ace Hardwares that can order you anything you need in too, and the prices are going to be very similar, but you're supporting a smaller business rather than the number, and you're going to get that personal.
And they know you by name.
So when you call up and say, hey, this is John. Hey, John, how you doing? What you working on this week? Hey, I need some siding. All right, I'll come out and I'll measure it for you. PMC comes out and measures our houses for us. They'll be glad to do that for you because that's sales to them. Now they've just created another customer. Home Depot will come out for $35 to measure it for you.
Yep.
You know, but those are your differences.
Art?
Is it too late for a marketing question?
No.
Sending out a gazillion letters and postcards. At what point do you say, the message is not working, I need to change something?
Well, the easy answer would be when you're not getting the results you're used to getting.
When you start not getting phone calls, if I send out 50,000 postcards and I don't get a single phone call,
something's broke.
Something's wrong. Or only get maybe 2 or 3. You should look at that 1% that they were talking about. Yeah, it's less than 1%, but hey, this is what I need to get with my marketing. If I'm sending out 50,000, I need to get at least 200 calls in order for that marketing. If you get none, dump that marketing plan.
If you're not tracking your marketing, if you don't know what your numbers are now while you're using whatever you're using, you'll never know what's working and what's not. So the first thing I would tell you is put something out there and track it. Know everything about it. Okay? Know how many you've done, how many calls you've gotten, what's working, what's not. Then you can say, well, let's tweak something. Let's try something different.
Yep.
If you get a better result, there's your answer. If you get a worse result, there's your answer.
Yeah, because once you know your numbers, you can go back and figure out what's broke, what's not working as effectively as it should be working.
You have to know your numbers.
All right, you guys enjoy this? Yeah. All right, let's give it up for these guys for being here today. And you said you expect to wrap it up in about another 12 weeks or so?
About 12 weeks.
Is that January? 12 weeks, December, January, somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's end of January.
3 months from now.
Ish. Yeah.
Ish. And it depends on when we get my permit. I mean, once I get, because I met with the architect this morning before you all got here. We did a final, he gave me drawings of the original house. And then we walked through it and say, okay, no, I want this here. He's like, well, this ain't going to work. How can we do this? And so we just talked through that final stage. And that cost you about $3,500. To have an architect come out and draw your house, pull your permit for you, runs about $3,500. Especially if it's an addition. If you don't have the addition, it's about half of that.
$120,000 renovation, it's worth everything.
It's worth it because your contractor now has designs, he has plans, your plumber knows exactly where everything is going.
You're doing a
Your electrician knows where it's
renovation,
going.
that's different. You're doing it yourself, and what problems would you have if you tried to pull all the cement yourself?
I'm not an architect, so I can't stamp my designs, which is a requirement, especially with the addition. So that I can't even do that part. Secondly, it's what he does for a living. I don't. So I'm going to pay somebody that does this for a living because they're going to expedite it for me. I can take that permit down there and I can go wait in each office and have no clue where I need to go to next. He already knows all that. He's already made relationships with everybody in that office. So it makes it really easy for him to go in and say, hey, John, I'm making this up. All right, leave it with me. I need to review it. All right, get that stamp on it and be back the next day. Whereas I leave that plans, it might be there for a week before he gets to it.
Yep.
Because it's all about the arrangements that you make with your contractors and with your people.
So my real question was, that I was getting to, is you're going to try to finish it up in January, or are you going to have us back out to see the finished product?
Would love you to come back out.
All right, well, I'll get with Sue and see if we can arrange that and kind of keep the end date kind of flexible.
Yes. Oh, it's always going to be flexible.
Yeah, because even if we can't see it when it's fully completed, maybe we can see it when it's starting to wrap up.
So look
Just
at the
depending
first
on-
of the year.
Yeah, depending on your schedule.
Yeah, and
we
it always,
like that.
Like I said, anything can go wrong.
Yep.
At any time.
Yeah, because we've been doing this group for quite a while, years, and this is one of the few historical homes we've actually been out to.
Oh, cool.
So we're looking forward to seeing the finished
it's a big
product.
thing. I mean, you might not think anything. Oh well, I'll get it on the side. I'll do it I'll do it on the weekends. He even told us, he goes, we've got people in each part of our district that their whole job is to watch people working for construction.
Yeah, of course.
They're not the crime watch group, they're the house watch group because they want to make sure. That's why they're buying. That's why they're spending $500,000 to live across the street from the zoo.
Yep.
Is they want this type of, just like your homeowners associations. You go and buy the homeowner, you're buying it because of what they offer you. It's the same thing in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You're buying it because of what they offer you.
Yeah.
And you just got to respect them and they'll treat you greatly. I mean, I know that. She had like 5 kids over there when I was over there last week and introduced myself. I gave her my card. I apologized up front for this, for the mess, for the traffic, for the dumpsters. And she's like, thank you. The band was horrible. I'm just glad we're going to get a family movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It keeps coming up, right?
But that's what they're getting. They're getting a new neighbor.
Yep.
They may have to go through a few months of construction, but they're getting a new good neighbor. And if you make friends with them, I mean, sometimes I'll bring gift cards to the local restaurant and say, hey, I just appreciate you keeping an eye out on my house.
Yes.
Because some areas you're not in the best of areas, and you get broken into a lot. Well, if you got that neighbor watching your house, that $50 gift card's nothing compared to the $5,000 you got stolen
Exactly.
out of your house.
That's great advice. And I just wanted to clarify a comment I made in the very beginning. I was saying as I panned around, I couldn't tell that a lot of these have been rehabbed, and your explanation made sense. They're not allowed to change the front of the house. It's got to look historic. So that's why you can't always tell.
Yeah, because you can look across the street and you can see that he's got new siding on that
Exactly.
house. You know that's been upgraded with those storage units.
Exactly.
You know, and as you drive around, you don't want a house that's a neighborhood that's already renovated.
Yep.
You're at the lowest end of that part. You're not going to get that best dollar.
Yep.
You're going to pay more for that property. Yeah, rehab part's going to cost the same.
Yep.
But you're going to sell it for less. Whereas I'm here where not a lot of rehabs, great area to live into. Knowing that huge park is being built just adds value.
So you got any closing comments to wrap it up, and any words of advice for all these new folks that are wanting to get into rehabbing?
Find help. Contractors, find them now before you start getting into, because once you're on the house, now it's costing you money. That cost to hold that property is costing you while you go get estimates and go find a contractor. Find them now.
Joseph, you got any comments or you like to make of folks getting started in this business?
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, find a mentor. Find a mentor that's really going to help you, not necessarily hold your hand, because it's not really literally holding your hand, but guide you through these things. You know, it's not easy, guys.
Keep you safe. Keep you out of trouble.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure that you start thinking about, you know, like, oh, man. You know, so, guys, something like this, if you have an opportunity, have your financing in place, okay? Because these deals they don't come by quick, and if they do,
Good point.
Just like it gets to them, they're pitching it to 100 other people, right?
You got to
So
act fast.
You got to act fast.
No thinking time.
We typically close within 72 hours of us getting the appraisal back. Once we have that, we're already at the closing table, ready to rock and roll. So have your financing in place.
All right. Don, any closing comments?
No, I'm anxious to come back and see it.
Me too.
Other than that, if you're brand new, folks, I just want to remind everybody, you guys are more than welcome. We do a property protege. You want to learn more about how to get group coaching, come see us. Dustin and I do this every Wednesday.
Tomorrow night.
6:30 tomorrow night. Come, come as our guest.
So that's just open
Tomorrow night, come on in.
Learn as much as you can.
Wednesdays, yes. Wednesdays, 6:30 at the same place as the general meeting.
3125 Presidential Parkway.
So if you're interested in that, please come join us. You'll see, we basically hold your hand for a whole year.
Let's give it up for these guys one more time for being here today, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's good meeting you. Good meeting you.
See you in a few months.
We will. We'll be back. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out today. Good day and God bless.